Inside the Story with CBS News' Margaret Brennan.
I always thought I have no association with the US government or any intelligence agencies, private citizen. It's impossible for them to take me.
This week for 60 Minutes, we speak with Emad Shargi, an Iranian-American businessman who was wrongfully detained and imprisoned in Iran for more than 5 years. He was released last month through a deal that gave Iran greater access to $6 billion of its sanctioned oil revenue. I've been following Emad's story for years and have spoken with his family for CBS News.
Do you have any idea why the Iranian authorities would take your father?
Yeah, it's because he's an American citizen.
How is Emad? How is he doing? What do you know about his state?
Emad is not well. We are not well. Emad is thousands of miles away from us.
You know, my family and I are just on pins and needles. We're incredibly nervous about what happens next.
And back then,
After watching Emad's family fight for his release, it was really a full circle moment.
Got it? Repass, stand by.
To be able to speak with him in person after he was finally freed.
time was not on my side, and generally time is not on the side of hostages, because a lot of things happen that are completely out of your control, that have direct effect on your life.
You use the word hostage, not prisoner.
Yes.
You never had a trial.
No, it was a foregone conclusion.
During our conversation, he told us about some of the ways his Iranian interrogators tried to scare him into making a confession, like the time they brought him into a room that appeared to be an execution chamber.
There was a guy sitting on an altar, and he started reciting prayers from the Quran. He was flooded in green light, and there was a noose hanging between him and me. And he said, "This is your last rite, you're going to be hung."
What did you do?
There's not much you can do. There is nothing you can do.
For the first 8 weeks he was in Evin prison, he didn't know whether his wife Bahre had been imprisoned too. His interrogators tried to take advantage of that.
I could hear women screaming and crying in rooms down the hall. And they would come up to me and they would whisper in my ear, "Do you hear her? Do you want it to stop?"
And you thought they were torturing your wife?
Yep. I don't know if she was being tortured. I didn't know if she was being raped. I have no idea. And that is its own form of torture.
When Emad finally returned to the United States in September, his family met him on the tarmac.
What was that like when Emad stepped onto the tarmac from that plane?
I got to hug my big brother. He looked a little older, a little thinner, but he was alive. Oh God, he was home. I knew he would come back. I just didn't know if he would come back alive.
Neda Shargi is Emad's sister. While he was imprisoned, Neda chaired a campaign called Bring Our Families Home. It's led by family members whose loved ones are being detained in countries like China, Iran, and Russia. In July of 2022, they put up a mural in D.C. showing the faces of some of these Americans held abroad.
Some have come home and some are still waiting to come home, but that mural is falling apart. It's deteriorating intentionally. We're going to leave it there to show the effect of time on the families and our loved ones who are being left behind. Every single one of those individuals needs to be fought for and brought home, the same way that Emad and the others were brought home from Iran.
Mm-hmm. Because not every hostage becomes a household name.
No.
And it makes a difference when those names are known.
It does make a difference. It makes a difference in many ways. I know from my brother how important it is that he talks about this, so that if he can save one person from going somewhere and going through this because he's an American or she's an American, it's worth it.
More people who need to come home.
Yep. Indeed.
A number of the people whose photos are on that wall have come home, like Brittany Griner, who was detained in Russia. But there are others who are still being held, like Kai Li in China and Paul Whelan in Russia.
This is it. This is it.
We brought Emad to the mural, where he got to see his own photo before time wore it away.
So this is you.
This is me. This is me.
Is this the first time you've been down to this alley?
It is the first time I've actually laid eyes on it. It's amazing. It's very powerful. It's a way of showing what people like us who are sitting in cells in foreign jails, time passes, and this is what's happening to our bodies and to our minds. I'm fortunate to be able to stand here in front of my own picture.
It's surreal, isn't it?
It really is. This sort of wraps this whole thing for me. My 5.5-year trip now comes to a close. And this is the end of it.